All right, that's it. That's how you put a door in. At least the Robert Ingram way of putting a door in. Hey, welcome back. I'm at the LilyPad, and I'm actually working on one of the bathrooms for the LilyPad. And while I was doing it, I was putting in the light switch, a motion sensor light switch, and it made me think of a story that drove me, that's kind of wild. When I was younger and I bought my first house, I had seen this switch called a motion switch. They had just really kind of came out, and you could really just now start buying them. So my daughter at the time used to go in the bathroom and leave the light on. So did my son. It drove me crazy. So I put one of these light switches in, and lo and behold, they would go in, 15 minutes after they came out, the light would go off. Very easy, very cool. Well, one night I was working graveyards at this factory, and I came home and I sat down on the couch. It was probably, I don't remember, it was like 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, but it was late, and it was kind of spooky and just eerie kind of night. And I was sitting there, and all of a sudden, I seen that bathroom light come on. And I'm like, well, what's going on here? And I'm like, that switch is already faulty. A few minutes later, light would go off. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching it. And a few minutes later, light came back on. And I'm like, okay, this is getting kind of creepy. Like it's seeing something move that's making this light come on and off. Well, come to find out, I finally get up and I go towards the door because I'm like, okay, this is driving me crazy. What is going on? I get up and there's my daughter's little Pomeranian puppy. And what it's doing is it's literally standing outside the door and waiting for the light to go off. And as soon as the light goes off, it would step in, and then it would step back out and wait again. The craziest thing I ever saw. All right, first off, let's talk about the door frame. In this building, I want it to be a wide door, so I actually am putting in a 32-inch door. With that being said, what they call the rough opening, that's from your frame to your frame, should be 34 1/4. I actually frame it out to be 34 inches because I don't, a 1/4 inch, really? Anyways, the other part is it's supposed to be 82 inches tall. And where you can find that is actually on the door. When you're buying the door, it will come with, hold on, let me get this out of the way. Rough measurements. I don't know if you can read that or not, but it'll tell you the size of the rough opening. And that's rough opening, jam size 4 inches. Okay. Now the other part that you got to be aware of is these doors are made for 4-inch openings. That's 3.5 inches for the stud and 1/2-inch sheetrock on both sides. This gives you your 4 inches. The frame that I'm actually using is called it's a split frame. Basically, you take the frame apart, you put the door in, and then you put the outside piece. Here's the trick. If you're framing up somebody else's, or if you're putting a door in somebody else's framing, this may not be the greatest idea how you do it. But I, on the other hand, framed this door knowing that I'm going to put it on there. And I don't know if you can see that. Let's see. If you can see that, you'll notice this side is level. Both sides should actually be level. But let's see if I can, there you go. So, why is that critical? Well, the big reason that's critical is because when I frame up a door, I don't want to have to shimmy. You put these little shims back and forth to try to get to the door level. If this frame's level, I put my door in, I push it to that side, I've got a level side already. I'm still going to use a level, but anyways. So that's the concept. Now the other thing is like I said, 32-inch door, I need a 34-inch frame by 82. One of the things that we didn't think about for some reason, when I framed this out, framed at 82 inches. Perfect. And it is level. I put a level on it for the header. However, I didn't allot for losing an inch of floor. And so my rough opening's actually 34 by 81. And my door frame says it's supposed to be 82. I'll show you why that's not a big issue And what they do allow for that when you're actually buying your door. And here's what it is. You actually end up with almost 1.5 inches. So I can actually take off 1 inch of this door on both sides, and that will allow for my door to be 81. All right, let me get everything set up and I'll show you how it's done. All right, so here's how we're going to do it. We're going to fold up the piece of cardboard out of our way. We're going to take our tape measure underneath the cardboard all the way to the inside of the door. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Inside the door. And we're going to look for the highest part of the door jamb. You can see how it is right here. So this one's pretty square. Some of them are a little bit wonky. But you want to get the highest part of the door. And then what you're going to do is come down here and you're going to make a mark at 81. Just like that. Then you're going to take your handy dandy speed square and just make your mark here across like this. Line your marks up because your door frame may be a little tweaked. All right. And then we're going to actually just come down through here and make a mark on both sides. Like that. That's all we need there. Now we're going to take our saw and we're just going to cut straight across. This will not cut all the way through the door jamb, but it will cut enough that we'll be able to make a mark. Let me do that and I'll show you. Now you see how that's been cut. You'll have a mark on both sides. Now how I do it, and I mean you could probably find a bigger bladed saw if you want to, and then I take this guy, and this is called a Japanese saw. This saw actually cuts on the, I don't know if you can tell it or not, the teeth are meant when you pull is when it cuts. American saws usually cut when you go forward, so these are a little bit easier to use. In my opinion, anyways. Watch yourself, these are sharp though. And that's how you cut the door. Now that door is 81 inches, which will fit my hole a lot for my flooring that I put in. All right, now that you've got both sides cut to where you can actually do that, stand your door back up. Just like this. And what you're going to want to do is cut those straps. You can see these hanging here. And you can pull the sides off. By the way, there's the rough opening. There's all your information. Now, a left-handed door means that from the hole, if you're looking into the door, we'll swing left. And if it's a right-handed door, so I don't know if you can see how it says LH right there. If it's a right-handed door, it'll say RH, and the hole will be on the opposite side, and it'll swing that way. You typically want to go, whatever room you're going into, look where light switch is and go the opposite way. And that's how I do it anyways. Now once you have these side pieces off, there's going to be some staples on the side right here. See these staples right there? You got to pull these staples out, and there's a couple more down through there, and make sure you get them all. They'll only be on the sides, they won't be. Do not touch this piece yet. This will come off in a minute, but we'll talk about that. That's actually holding the door shut. And there again, staples. Now you might have, like this one has some of these little staples. They got to be pulled too, but definitely the big ones. So now to get the staples is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, all they do is kind of like this, and they shouldn't be that hard to get out. You should be able to pull them out fairly easy, just like that. And like I said, just pull all of them that you see and we'll go from there. That's all of them on this side. No little ones here, I don't think. Nope. Come around to this side, do the same thing. Now sometimes they'll come out like this. That's pretty nice if they do, but as you can see, sometimes they don't. But it should come out pretty easy. There again, like I said, sometimes you'll have these little staples. Just depends on the manufacturer of the door at the time. But you can see they're kind of just a long staple. Got one more up here at the top. All right, now once you have all the staples out, the side that's opposite of the hinges, in other words, you don't see any hinges here, you should be able to grab that frame and kind of pull on it. Now, if it doesn't come out right away, double check it and make sure you didn't leave a couple staples. But what you're looking for is this piece right here to slip out. And you'll do it at the top too. See if I can get the shot there. Slip out the top. Now sometimes it's a pain. Typically you don't see staples at the top, but if you have one that doesn't seem to want to come apart, double check it and make sure they didn't put something up there. So what you're looking for is this right here, is this whole frame should pop apart, just like that. And you can see there's a little groove right here, a little rabbit, and what that's meant to do is this is meant to slip into it. Now, this is a trick, this is the tip. That's why we cut this door before taking it apart. Sometimes you'll take it apart and then you'll realize that you need to cut the door. That makes it a little bit harder. So I typically put it back together, hold it back together with something, cut the door, then pull it back apart. So anyways, we're gonna pull this apart like this, and this will give some, so be careful because you could pop it apart completely. But I recommend just setting it out of your way. Now what you have is two doors, and this one's taken apart. This is the piece that you want right here. See, there's the hinges. You can see the hinge up here, and this is the frame piece that we want. And you can see how it's got this little ledge right here. And what that's going to do is that goes up against the wall, the stud. So let's go over and I'll show you. By the way, I'm not that strong. This is, okay, I'm pretty strong. Okay, so bring the door into the room that you're going to be doing. Like I said, in this room, I want the door to swing inward away from the light switch. I don't know if you can see the light switch. Okay. Yeah, there's the light switch. So opposite way. And that way when you reach into a room, you come into a room, even though it's motion, you don't have to open the door, go behind the door. That doesn't make any sense. Away from the light switch. That's the best way. Left-handed door. Perfect. All right, let's talk about a couple tools that you're gonna need. You're gonna need a level. This is a, I don't even know, 5-foot level. But the thing about this is a Harbor Freight level. I mean, little and nothing, less than 20 bucks, you can go pick up a Pittsburgh level from Harbor Freight. You do not need an $80 level, unless you're doing this every day. And then if you're a trim carpenter or a actual cabinet maker, I'm sorry, I'm horrible compared to you guys. Now the other thing you're gonna need, and I'm just using this as a frame nailer, or, I mean, you could use a hand nailer if you want, like nails and hand, but who really does it? This is the Milwaukee Fuel, but I'll be honest with you, this is actually just an 18 gauge brad nailer. What I typically do is I use this to put it in place. Once it's in place, then I come back and I put a couple screws in. I'll show you that too. But yeah, let me get this door started. Now the one last thing I forgot that we got to talk about is this little piece right here. That actually holds the door together. It goes through, let's see if I can get this correctly. It goes through the lock and just kind of attaches. Sometimes you can turn them by hand, but most of the time you just need a little pair of pliers. and pop it on. That's all you want to do. You just want to take this piece off. You just want to take this piece off. Because once you put that door in place, if that's still in place, you're going to have a hard time getting this out. Do not pull this out yet. Since we didn't have that, we can just push that out when the time comes. But it's still gonna, now the other thing is once you do that, this piece right here can move in and out, so we just want to be careful of that when we're putting the door in. All right, it's this simple. You've now got that piece off, you've got your nail gun, you've got your level. You're gonna take this door and you're gonna lift it up, squeeze it here because this will come loose. Lift this up and stick it in the hole. And then you're gonna, if you remember right, that side right there was completely level. Push it over that way as far as it'll go. Push it against the wall all the way. Stick your level against the frame. And then once you do that, just take your brad nailer and put a couple brads in it. Make sure it's level. So, now that's going to hold this side, and you can put a couple more nails. But what you want to be careful of when you're doing the other side and the top is you can look at the gap from one point to the other. Now you can put a level up there if you want to, and that's fine. Get you a little shorter level and do the top. But what I typically do, if I know that side is straight and level, what I will do is actually look at my gap, close my door, look at my gap. Make sure my gap's the same. Put a couple brads in. Do the same thing on this side. But as you're looking down this door, try to keep your gap about the same. And that's it. I mean, the door's in. Well, we got to do the other side, but. All right, so that door's in now. Now the only thing you got left to do is that little piece that we talked about. You just pull it out. And that's it. The door's now installed. Okay, so after the door's installed, what you'll notice is this side, which is the one that has the hinge that I pushed all the way against the frame when I slipped it in, has no gap, which is fine. That's exactly what I wanted. I know this is going to be level. I did it. I'm going to pull one of these screws out in the hinge and put a longer screw through into the stud itself. So it'll go in. I'll show you that in a minute. However, on the other side, because we did have a little bit of a gap, we're going to want to put something in there just to kind of reinforce the frame. And it doesn't matter what it is. It can just be some small pieces of scrap wood that kind of go in like that. And that's all that's going to do is just take up that space. Now you want to make sure that when you put this piece of wood in, that you kind of do it in such a way that it goes all the way across. Crazy light. It goes all the way across the stud, because when you put the other piece on, you won't be able to shoot it to it too. So I'll do it like that. And it doesn't take many. I mean, you can put 1, 2, 3, whatever you want. And then all you're going to want to do is make sure to shoot across there, put one there. And then we're going to put another piece of wood across the bottom the same way, just to give it a little bit more reinforcement on the door. So now I have just a couple extra pieces, one there and one down there on the bottom. All right, so now we take this piece of frame that we actually popped off the door originally, and all you're going to do is slip it back And just like that. And what you'll notice is, crazy light, man. And what you'll notice is it slips in and it sandwiches in there beautifully and seals up the whole door frame. That's it. Now these gaps up here, you know, you're gonna wanna move it around a little bit to maneuver it, but those are gonna be caulked. I mean, don't forget, you have to caulk all these little holes before you paint this door, unless you're just like, I don't care. So, but look at that. Perfect. Just like it's supposed to be. So now after you do that, the only thing you want to do is shoot a couple more brads into it. Just like that. Now once you have that, the next place you'll want to put a couple brads, because if you remember, it sandwiches into the centerpiece. So what you typically want to do is just put you 1 or 2 brads, because it's actually going through this one and that one and pulling it, keeping it together. Now if you look, you'll see where that nail was there. Remember we put that board kind of crooked there, so we'll put us an extra 1 or 2 there. Do the same thing all the way around, including the top. And the edges. And that is all it takes to put a door in like this. Now some doors don't come with a slip apart frame. I don't like putting those doors in. You can, but it's a little bit more complicated. And when you do, typically what you want to do too is you can put a piece of wood on each side of the frame, because it won't come with this door frame piece, or you can put it on one side, slip it in, kind of put it in place and then do that too. But I prefer to just do it like that. Okay, so one of the last things I do is I take out one of the hinge screws, because if you look, it's kind of short, and I replace it with at least a 2.5 inch, 3 inch screw of some sort. And what that's going to do is it's going to reinforce that door on this side, because the hinges are typically what takes the most abuse. And that's it. Once you replace, you got 3 hinges. I recommend putting 3 long screws in it, and that'll actually pull it into the stud. And that way, when this door is open and closed and beat and banged, it'll take most of the abuse on that side from the swinging. Now the other side, let's talk about that. Now we've got the keyhole to figure out, or latch that we need to put in. I'll show you. I've got that. Why don't I go ahead and show you how to put that in real quick. Now a latch is a very simple product. Basically you have the strike plate. And with this you'll notice one side slanted and one side is flat. The slanted side is so when the door closes, it'll actually close. So what you're gonna do is slip that bad boy in just like that. The other part is you're gonna have the handle. The handle just comes apart. The screw or square piece right there fits into this. That little flat rod actually goes into a groove for the lock. This particular one, I'm putting a key lock in it just because it's a commercial bathroom, and I don't want to, in case somebody needs to lock the bathroom, I can get back into it. You're just going to slip that through there like this. On this side just like this. Being careful to try to line up the screw holes with the pins. Now, in this kit comes all the parts that you're going to need, which is all the screws. And that will let you get this started. The long ones, now you're going to get 2 long ones. Those are actually for the lock themselves. So you can actually get that started. Now what you'll notice is I didn't put any screws in here yet. The reason is I want to get everything lined up, and working for me before I do all that. Now before you tighten up those, we're going to put these last 2 screws in right here. And they're actually 2 of the shorter screws that are just wood screws, because they're self-tapping kind of wood screws. So I do this. And that, we put a simple door lock on so far. Now the only thing we have left to do is the strike plate. Now this is a trick that I do, totally up to you, is I make a little mark where the top is, where the bottom is, and then I open the door back up, because when I put the strike plate in, I want to make sure that I'm not fighting with it. Because the strike plate actually is actually going to go right here, but I want to make sure the hole is right where I need it to be. Now sometimes these things fit perfect, sometimes they don't, but you can double check it, just make sure, because there's nothing worse than putting it in place and then finding out that you've got to adjust it a little bit. This one looks like it's going to be perfect actually. So I thought they shorted me a screw, but there it is. And now, the moment of truth. Bam. All right, that's it. That's how you put a door in. At least the Robert Ingram way of putting a door in. They're not complicated. They're fairly easy to put in. I mean, that's impressive how quick it is. If I didn't have to video this, I would have been done in like 15 minutes. But what fun would that be if I didn't video it? I just want to show you what kind of mess I make every time I do something simple like that. I'm like, man, this isn't going to take me long. Look at the mess. Now I've got to pick up all this junk again. Ah.